Hey everybody, what's up? It is your boy MJ. Welcome to the Black Wine Gay Wine Go. Cut that shit. What the fuck happened there? I just did this shit yesterday. You know what? Hold on. Give me 1 second. You know what it is? It was that bite of Chick-fil-A. I had them greasy lips. Okay. All right, man. Whenever. We'll be quiet. Hey, everybody. What's up? It's your boy MJ. Welcome to the Black Wine Guy Experience Before the Pour, a.k.a. 20 Questions with MJ. My guest today is owner of 56 Degree Wine, former sales consultant and wholesaler, wine blogger, and a Burgundy enthusiast, Joe Bembry. He's the former owner of a surf shop on the Jersey Shore before deciding to pursue an education in wine full-time. In 2003, he graduated from the WSET with an advanced certificate with distinction. In 2004, he began his wine career as the opening wine director of 56 Degree Wine. In 2012, he briefly left 56 Degree Wine to work on the wholesale side of the business and began representing the great portfolios of Juan Prieto Wines, BNP, and Grand Cru Selections. He returned to 56 Degree Wine in 2014 as president and general manager. Joe has now become the outright owner of the store as of January 2021. He's also an avid golfer and a 30-year-plus professional musician, a father of two, and husband to Kerin Auth Bembry of La Luz Selections. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you, MJ. It is a pleasure and an honor to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be a clown-ass episode, which is fine. These are like the best episodes because Kerin was on the show, and we went and hung out, and we've gotten banged up a number of times since then. Okay, Joe, so to warm us up, I'm going to start by asking you some personal questions, and then they will be followed by the 10 questions that James Lipton made famous on Inside the Actors Studio.
Oh, boy. Okay.
All right? So, just come off the top of your dome. It's not that hectic. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your favorite book?
Booyah. I would probably say the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Oh, that was a good one. I read that in college. That was like a rite of passage.
Yes, it was like a high school thing for me. And actually, I have a relative who's in the book.
Oh.
Elton, I think it was Elton Bembry,
who said, "Get your hand out my pocket"?
No, well, he was actually in prison with Malcolm X.
Wow.
He was one of the in the movie. There was like a composite character who he was like, I forget the name of the guy in the film, but he played the guy in prison and also kind of like shepherding him along his way in Islam. So there's a little bit of a family connection with it. But it's
okay.
Yeah.
This show is dope. My podcasts are dope. What's your favorite movie?
Ooh, number one, Glory.
Oh, that's a good movie.
Denzel.
The Cry.
Yeah.
Just taking it.
Ew.
Just manning up.
It's kind of hard to watch, but it's gripping. Yeah.
Yeah. That was his first Oscar. Supporting actor.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah. This is a good one for you. Favorite musical artist?
Gotta get one. That's it.
Yeah, you just won.
Shit. I gotta go with Stevie Wonder.
Ah.
But I mean, give me Prince. Give me Jay-Z. Give me.
I thought you were gonna say Fishbone.
Yeah, we might mention them later on.
What was that other one too? Yeah, and I'm actually, Kerin, get on this motherfucker. It should have been. You do 58 of these and you forget like
50.
the show you went to, the ticket.
Oh, David Byrne's American Utopia.
No. The date with Kerin.
Oh, Jane's Addiction.
Yeah, Jane's Addiction.
Yeah,
that's her favorite for sure.
That was our first date.
That should have been your.
That should have been my answer.
Should have been your answer.
I fucked up. Sorry.
You did. It's all good.
She gonna hear this? Anybody else gonna hear this?
I don't know. This is like bonus stuff, but yeah, we're gonna put this out.
Okay.
This is fun.
All
right. Favorite food, last meal. What is Joe having?
I keeps it real. Fried chicken.
What you have
when it's done right?
Yeah. Champagne with the fries?
Champagne for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
It's a banger.
It
Maybe
is a
French
banger.
fries too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely. Favorite athlete?
When I think of like athletic prowess, I think of Tiger.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big golfer. Maybe some of the other things surrounding him, not so much. But like, when I just think of like who do I want to see like in those moments, like Jordan, Tiger.
Yeah.
You know, that's the guy.
Yep. No doubt. Change the game. Like people talk about, most people don't change the game. Tiger actually changed the game because golfers became athletic. They had to become athletic because of him.
Changed everything.
You know?
The money, the game, the fame, I mean, changed it all.
Yep. Had a bunch of golf hoes out there.
Hey.
Tiger.
Hey. Leave my boy alone.
I'm not messing. Tiger Woods, y'all. Favorite cartoon as a child?
I used to like Speed Racer. That was a good one. Yeah, that would probably be my one.
Cool. Favorite cereal?
I don't eat a lot of cereal.
You didn't eat it when you were watching Speed Racer? Saturday morning?
You know why? Because I hate milk, and so I eat my cereal dry, which is something my wife always is like, how do you do that? It's like dry-ass cereal with a spoon and a bowl, too.
Oh, my God.
I'm like, how else am I supposed to eat? Just pick it up with my hands and throw it in my mouth?
Yeah,
like,
basically, you just pick it out the box of eating it dry like popcorn, bro.
But Raisin Bran would be the one. I like Raisin Bran.
Oh, my God. Dry-ass Raisin. I didn't even like Raisin Bran from jump. Anyway, this shit dry.
I swore I wasn't going to embarrass myself on this thing, we're like 5 minutes in.
This is just questions I'm asking. It's just because we get to know you. Because when we're hanging out, I never asked you what your favorite cereal was. Bro.
Joe Bembry, if you take one thing away, it's dry-ass cereal.
Exactly. What do you do for exercise? Current exercise routine?
Ooh, I'm a big Peloton guy. I got to give it to my wife. She bought a Peloton machine last year in the spring, and I'm like obsessed.
You're about it?
Yes. There's something about a woman right on the screen bouncing up and down saying, push harder. And I'm just like, damn. All right. I'm
in. Who's your favorite comedian?
Chappelle. GOAT. Done.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a wrap.
I love Chris Rock, but Chappelle's, it's it.
Yeah. Dude, there's some other bullshit they're trying to do on him now that he like blocked low income housing, which is not even true. The internet is crazy, bro.
I didn't hear that. I'm gonna act like I just didn't hear it now.
Yeah, he didn't, but people just like, it's crazy. Who would you most like to have a bottle of wine with?
I would probably say Barack Obama, just because he's like the coolest dude on the planet.
Yeah, he was definitely. I mean, he was too cool to be president, even.
But give me Jay-Z too, please. Yeah. Thank you. Tell him to bring his wife.
Hove. Okay, now Joe, we're gonna turn our attention to the questions made famous by James Lipton inside the Actors Studio.
I guess I have to get serious now.
Joseph, what is your favorite word?
My favorite word? Love.
What is your least favorite word?
Sour. I don't like things that are sour. People, food, sour.
Got it. What turns you on?
Passion, fire, spice.
What turns you off?
Anger.
Got it. What sound or noise do you love?
My daughter laughing's pretty high up there. I'll say that. It's pretty funny and special.
Very cool. What sound or noise do you hate?
Yelling, screaming, fighting, all that stuff.
Yeah. As I've gotten older, I'm less tolerant to noise. It's just like weird noises and shit. Like
yeah. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into this later.
Yeah.
But I spent 30 years in rock music, so
yeah,
I am very sensitive with my ears, and yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Anything super loud, it starts to get to me.
Yeah. What's your favorite curse word?
Cunt. Is my mom gonna hear this?
No. And you're not the first person. And you're not the first person to say that.
Oh damn.
And the first one was a woman, actually.
Much respect.
Yeah.
You know what? It's one of those things where if you say it to a guy,
yeah,
it's like emasculating and like cuts him down.
Right.
But if you say it to a woman, it's like DEFCON 4.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like it's over. There's hardly any coming back from that.
Nah.
It's about as bad as you could get.
Yeah. But that's what I said when I said, you know, in all those British, like those Guy Ritchie movies, like they tell the other guy, you're a fucking cunt. Like you said, it just cuts him down.
Yeah.
But there's just, that's like jumping off a building with no parachute. You're done. I mean, you said it to a woman, you're done. You're hitting the ground. You just...
I use the word fuck a lot,
yeah.
even at work.
Yeah.
And so my staff knows that, like, you know, that's just how Joe talks.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have to kind of realize that there are other people around me.
I know.
but yeah, I have a potty mouth. It's bad.
Interesting enough, Pam, my wife, read an article. These articles come around every now and then, like in Psychology Today, but like people who curse are better friends. Like you're more, you're comfortable. You're not, there's no pretension.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And I'm the same way. Like even when you're kidding, like, oh shit, I said fuck in front of the light. Like you get talking, right? As a kid.
But my daughter has a thing where if you curse in front of her, you owe her like $5.
Yeah.
I think my wife's up to about $15,000 at this point. So she's gonna have her way paid through school one way or another.
Nice.
Cursing or, you know.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Maybe when I get out of this game, I'd like to be a professional poker player.
Okay.
I like to play cards every once in a while, so that would be fun.
Cool.
I'd probably get sick of it too, but it'd be fun.
You'd be on TV, ESPN, with glasses on, shades, your Yankee hat on. What profession would you not like to do?
The one that I did as a kid, I worked at the sanitation plant, like the sewage plant. Mm-hmm. It was one of my first jobs, and I used to clean out the what is it? The valves of things. You know, so everything people flush down the toilet, it doesn't just evaporate; it goes somewhere. So I'm not going to tell you the kinds of things I had to stick my hands in and pull out, but it would make you throw up. So I don't ever want to do that. Much respect to anybody who does it,
right?
But wow, that is hard work.
Yeah, I know, right? Like the civil servant, the snake guy.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah. Ugh. I mean, I'm a landlord now too, so I have to do some gross things. Like I had to snake my tennis drain not too long ago, and it was not pretty what came out of there. But
And lastly, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I didn't know we had many non-believers who were going to let in here, but come on in, son. like I know you dirty one. You were a good enough person on the planet to get entry. And I'll be like, I'm sorry I didn't believe, but nobody showed it to me right in my face. I can't help it.
Oh man, I don't even want to go there, man. But like, yeah, man, what is it? My mom was really religious. I'm like, but really, what evidence?
My grandmother was very.
God, man. Anyway, I digress.
Well, on that lovely note, God is dead. Yeah. Here we go. Here comes Joe Bembry.
That was a whole lot of fun. And if you want more of Joe, and I know you do, make sure you tune into our episode of the Black Wine Guy Experience. Peace. Hey, everybody. What's up? It's your boy, MJ. Welcome to the Black Wine Guy Experience. My guest today is the owner of 56 Degree Wine, former sales consultant and wholesaler, wine blogger, and a Burgundy enthusiast, Joe Bembry. Joe is the former owner of a surf shop on the Jersey Shore before deciding to pursue an education in wine full-time. In 2003, he graduated from the WSET with an advanced certificate with distinction. And in 2004, he began his wine career as the opening wine director of 56 Degree Wine. That's in Bernardsville, right?
Correct.
Okay. In 2012, he briefly left 56 Degree Wine to work on the wholesale side of the business and began representing the great portfolios of Juan Prieto Wines, BNP, and Grand Cru Selections. He returned to 56 Degree Wine in 2014 as president and general manager, and Joe has now become the outright owner of the store as of January 2021. He's also an avid golfer and 30-plus year professional musician, a father of two, and husband to Kerin Auth Bembry of La Luz Selections. Welcome, Big Joe.
Thank you, MJ.
Anything else you'd like to add, my man?
No. I think you said it all. You said it all.
All right. Tell us about the wine we'll be drinking tonight.
Okay, so this is a wine that's special to me. I've traveled to Burgundy many, many times. And as a matter of fact, Saturday night, I'm flying to France and going to Burgundy. It'll be my first trip since COVID started. But I've forged out these great relationships with all these producers there. One of the ones that I've been to probably 15 to 20 times is Domaine Zicote, Sullivan Zicote. So I thought it'd be interesting because I found a case of this in our basement. We just recently moved our location, store location. And I found a case of this in the basement, and I'm thinking 2012 Bourgogne Blanc might not be so hot, but the wine's superb. As you can see, the color's great.
I didn't even look at. I didn't even look at it. I just saw Zicote because I love Zicote, but I didn't even look at the vintage. Shit, this is a 10-year-old Bourgogne.
Yes, sir. 10 years on it. So I thought that'd be interesting as something to try.
Hell yeah.
From a producer who, not many people know, but one we've been working with really, really closely for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I just think he just nails it. People in France, in Burgundy, everybody knows Sylvain.
Right.
But here, not so much.
Well, we like our PYCMs. We like names.
Yeah,
we like blingy bling.
I'm
sure we're gonna get into that.
I love the ball too.
Yeah,
but you need a Tuesday nighter.
Exactly. Very cool. Very cool. So let's start at the top. Where did you grow up?
I was born a young black child.
I was born
Orange, New Jersey.
I was born the son of a sharecropper.
No, I wasn't.
No.
My father and mother. My father's from New York. My mother's from D.C. area. Okay. And I was born in Orange. Mm-hmm. I grew up in Lawrenceville, which is much different. Great suburb. Actually, it was a great place to grow up because it's like, very diverse.
Yeah.
There's a big, a sizable, I should say, African American population there. Lots of white kids, Jewish kids, Italian kids. It was like the proverbial melting pot. So for me, it gave me the opportunity that, along with my hue, to kind of move in different circles and different avenues. And, I was friends with everybody. I was an athlete. I was a musician. Mm-hmm. I was just starting to sing a little bit. And I just seemed to get along with a lot of different types of people and tried to maintain that throughout the years, even after I got out of school, out of that town.
Yeah.
So.
No, I mean Lawrenceville. That's like near Princeton and Trenton.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's the suburb right between Princeton and Trenton.
Yeah.
Heaven and hell.
Yep.
You pick which one's which.
Shit and sugar.
So, but yeah, it was a great place to be. Not too far from New York. Not too far from mm-hmm. Philly. So we got a little culture mixed in. The Yankee hat. That's how, I became a Yankee fan.
Joe B is in his signature Yankee hat. You will find him in his shop with the Yankee hat on.
It's a lot. Yeah.
So you said you were an athlete, and when you were growing up, soccer, right?
Yeah, I was a big soccer player. I actually, at one point, was thinking that I was going to continue on playing in college, and I got recruited by a bunch of schools, but none of them were the places I wanted to go. And I'm pretty sure my dad wanted to kick me in the balls when I told him that Carnegie Mellon wants you to play, but you don't want to go there. Oh, how my life would have been different if I went to Carnegie Mellon, MJ.
Bro, I listen. I used to work with kids, high school kids, and getting them to college. I'm like, and everybody wants to go. And this was in Connecticut. Everybody wants to go to UConn and play basketball. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you need to go to Wesleyan for free.
Yeah.
And play D3 soccer.
Yeah.
Okay? Or play D3 basketball. And then when you get out, you'll have a job because you'll meet someone whose father owns their own firm or something. You'll be good to go.
Exactly.
So I listen, I'm glad you didn't go to Carnegie Mellon because we probably wouldn't be here today.
No, we wouldn't be here.
But I know what you talk about. Like when you have these opportunities and like you were like, I'm going to Rutgers, UCLA. You want to go?
No, you know what? It was really weird. I had this weird thing because I don't like cold weather. So I had this thing. It had to be south of where we live.
Gotcha.
So I went down to like Old Dominion and visited there. I went down to UNC Greensboro, visited there. Visited Delaware, and then I drove onto the campus with my dad at the University of Maryland. Pulled into the campus. I saw the big kind of circle of flowers all around, and I just turned to my dad. I go, "This is where I'm going." And he's like, "Oh, yeah?" I said, "Yeah, I don't even need to talk to anybody. This is the place." it was just far enough away from home that I felt comfortable, like I was on my own. But if I needed to get back, I could just come back. You know, it was a quick train ride, which as I turned into more of a musician, which kind of transitioned me through my college years, it became really important because I was traveling back and forth to play gigs.
So what did you study at U of M?
Well, that's a long story too.
We got time.
Okay. I started out as an accounting major. I was fairly good at math. At least I thought I was. And then quickly realized that calculus and I don't get along. It was the only class I ever took where I got like a C-, and I was like, oh, thank God. I didn't fail. Like, oh, thank goodness. So I quickly got out of that. I took a marine biology class that I thought was interesting. So I said, oh, let me try this marine biology thing. Me as a scientist? Are you kidding me? Like, I'm like the most imprecise fucking person in the world. So you know, I'm there to keep going through classes, and then I changed my major to criminal justice, and I'm like, what am I going to be, an FBI agent? Like, I'm down in Maryland, Beltway, you know. I'm like, what am I going to do? You know, so I ended up going political science. At the time, it was called government politics was the major. And, you know, I do like politics, and I like to listen to it and talk about it. But at the time, I wasn't overtly political anyway. But the biggest thing about that time in my life, and the thing that galvanized the most, was learning the ability to write. That is the thing I took away from my college years that has extended up into my career. It was literally the only thing, because I was down at the University of Maryland, kind of going to school just because it was expected of me, but not fully buying into it, meaning my grades were okay. I wasn't super focused. I was more focused on my music career, what I thought was a career in music. I just did not like really put in the grind kind of work that it takes to be successful at college. So I got through. I graduated. But, you know, I was no A student.
Yeah. I mean, does anybody put in that kind of effort in college, though?
There are a lot of dudes who do. A lot of people put in massive amounts of effort and do very well and go on to other kind of greater things. But that wasn't my lot, bro.
No, I hear you, because I wasn't the best student for most of my college career. I buckled down for 2 years, but, like, having worked with colleges, I'm like, does anybody? Because then, like, you know, then you go, like, you hang out at Ivy League schools, and a lot of people aren't working hard there. They just got in. They know they're going to get a job.
Yeah.
But then there are people who are working hard. So like you said, it's probably 50-50.
Yeah. I mean, you do get out of it what you put into it.
Right.
You know, I do believe that. And I put some into it, and I was a smart guy. I was a smart kid, you know. So I got through on just being smart.
Yeah.
And by moving myself over to government politics major, it was more about creativity, which is way more my speed, way more my style. So to me, that was the thing that really, really stayed with me, and turns out to be probably one of the most important or galvanizing parts of my career.
Were you considering law school at any time, or?
No, like I said, I wasn't focused enough to think that would be an option for me. I mean, listen, I had 3 other guys from high school that we had this band, and we started getting a little bit of stuff going on. We play down at the beach, some of the Jersey Shore clubs in the summer, and we got like a following, and then we wrote our own music, and that started to catch on, and we did a record release party at the Stone Pony. It was one of the greatest nights of my life. I still remember it like it was yesterday.
You played the Stone Pony?
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Not only did we play, we headlined. We had wrote and written an album, recorded it, and did our record release party at the Stone Pony. So it was the first time all these people who come to see us play covers were listening to our original thoughts and ideas. So we had our CDs printed, we got T-shirts printed up. I'm in the back of the Stone Pony after sound check in the dressing room for a couple hours. There's a couple bands come on before us, and then all of a sudden some guy goes, "Okay, you guys are up." And so the doors open, the guy puts the flashlight, and I hear people go, and I'm just like, holy shit, it's like I'm Prince or something. And I walk on stage, everybody's all fired up, and I'm like, ah. And we got out there and played terribly, but but it was the vibe, it was the feeling, and it just gave us so much confidence to keep going on. So, I loved that point of my life, that time. But getting back to college, that's what my focus was more on. It was more on music and doing that in a real way than it was on. I was going to school and getting good enough grades to continue, but I really wanted to be a musician. Yeah. That was my thing.
So for those of y'all who don't know, and you can Google it, the Stone Pony is a famous club at the Jersey Shore in Asbury Park, New Jersey, and notoriously famous as like like Bruce Springsteen and East Street Band was like the house band there for like when they were coming up in the 70s.
Bon Jovi.
Bon Jovi as well. And it's one of those. It's like the Whiskey A Go Go in L.A. It's a legendary rock club. It's Absolutely. Like CBGB's would have been in New York City, and damn, you played there. So yeah, let's talk about the band a little bit. I mean, that was great. So you said, when did you guys start? You started in high school, or
yeah? So these are friends of mine from high school, Justin, Norman, and Mark, and we just started a band and ended up playing a frat party at Rutgers. We were like 18, 19 years old.
Okay.
And it went well enough that they wanted us to come back. And so we started playing a couple gigs like that. Then we started getting some gigs locally. It was everything to me. The ability to get on stage and sing and sort of perfect, or I never really got to perfect it, but like to increase my...
You're working on your craft.
My quality of my craft and to learn how to be a performer was all I was really interested in at the time. And we lived at the beach. We were lifeguards in the summertime.
Okay.
And the musicians the rest of the year. We even stayed in a house on Long Beach Island in the winters, and that's when we would write and record. And we lived together. We were all in for a number of years.
This was after you graduated from college, you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it continued. It started when I was in school,
right.
And then it continued on. We'll get to that later, but it continued on for 30 plus years.
Damn. So again, Long Beach Island. That's classic Jersey Shore for you Jersey Shore fans who watch those idiots on TV.
LBI is a little more highfalutin, though.
Yeah, it is. A touch more. But even inside of it's the sections too. There's the sections that are more
like Beach Haven's. A little,
yeah, right.
That's where all the action is.
Right.
Right.
So you're in the band. You guys are living together. You're living down at Jersey Shore. You're booking good gigs. At one point, you owned a surf shop.
Yeah. So
how did that come to pass?
I was previously married, and my wife at the time and I decided to open it was more a skate shop, okay, but it was also a clothing store. She was very much into fashion. So it was the weirdest store because we were selling like DC shoes and Vans, but also like Diesel jeans and like Frankie B's and stuff that was like kind of like pricey and like couture-ish, at the time. And so it was the weirdest stores, but it was awesome because the kids would come in and they'd be like, "I need a new think deck and some bearings," and their mom would be like, "I'm gonna go try some jeans on."
Right.
It was crazy. So it did okay for a while, but when 9/11 hit, that following summer was a little bit rough on LBI. It was just everything kind of contracted, business-wise in terms of rentals and everything. So the business took a big hit after that. And at the time we had owned, lucky enough to meet a guy who helped us out and helped us buy the building that we were in. And so we decided to sell it. We moved back to the Trenton area to be closer to my family and my ex-wife's family because we had a small son at the time. And we needed all the help we could get. And so we sold it. We sold it and moved on. And I was kind of like struggling. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like my mother worked at a high school and I was like substitute teaching there. I was still doing the band and I was making some money, but not like crazy. And so I was substitute teaching and I thought for a moment I was going to actually be a teacher. one of the teachers at the high school I was at left for a leave of absence and decided was going to adopt a kid from Russia. So he needed 4 months off to acclimate that kid to the U.S. and blah, blah, blah. So I go, do you want to take over the social studies class? I go, yeah, I was a government politics major. Sure, why not? So I get in there, and it was like block scheduling. So it was just 3 periods a day. Okay, it was a morning one, and then lunch, and then 2 ones in the afternoon. And I had my seniors in the morning. They were so fucking chill. They would just come in and be like, hey, Mr. Bembry, what's up? What are we doing? Okay, cool. They do their thing. There's only like 12 of them in the class.
Right.
Then we'd have lunch. And then I had my 9th graders, and I wanted to fucking strangle them. I couldn't deal. I mean, like every day I'd be like, oh, okay, they're coming in. And I'd be like, shut up, sit down, shut up, sit down, shut up, sit down. like the first 10 minutes was just like, you out. I was just like so hyped. I couldn't take it. So, I thought I was going to do that. And then I said, I can't be a teacher. It's just like, and it was actually a friend of my ex-wife's was like, well, you're always into wine. You're talking about wine. You're just like, wine this, wine that. Why don't you get into wine? And I was like, I never thought of that. Maybe that is my lot in life. So I went to the WSET. I took that class. I had some really great instructors there, and I learned a lot. I filled in a lot of the gaps in my knowledge from that place. And then not there long after, I met the gentleman who hired me to open up 56 Degree Wine. And so, it was quite a time.
Yeah, let's back up to you were into wine. When did the wine actually come in the picture, just even casually or?
Well, MJ, I like to drink.
Keep it 100.
I'm not gonna fucking sugarcoat it.
No, I know.
No, so in high school, I would enjoy some beverages here and there, but it was lots of like light beer and stuff. And I remember going to see the Beastie Boys in New York City with a bottle of Canai wine on the street, rosé, popping it open and drinking it. And,
smooth, man.
Yeah,
Smooth,
Mad
brother.
Dog 2020, all the bangers.
Cisco,
yeah.
all the greatest hits.
So it was not too long after that my ex-wife introduced me to this gentleman who actually is the one who's the most responsible person for me being in the wine business.
Okay.
His name was Ruben Moranci.
Okay.
He was a sommelier at a restaurant in Philadelphia that they both worked at together. And for whatever reason, he saw that I liked wine, and he would always bring me, like when I'd stop by the restaurant, he'd bring me, you should taste this. And I'd taste it, ooh, this is good, But I, at the time, only drank white wine, never drank any red. So there was one time when I went to visit Ruben, and he was like, okay, you're going to have this dish, and you're going to have the duck, and I'm going to give you a Pinot Noir. I'm like, whoa, back it up. I don't really drink red wine. He goes, shut up, sit down. You're going to try this because it goes with this dish.
Right.
And so me as a person who only drank white wine, and when I say only drank white wine, I'm talking about Sebastiani, like really oaky, like intense, the Coca-Cola of Chardonnay, like it was just like very sweet.
It's like butter, baby.
Yeah, exactly. And so he put this Pinot Noir, and it wasn't even expensive, but it was an Oregon Pinot Noir in the glass. And I took a bite of the duck, and I put the Pinot Noir in my glass. I was like, oh my God, that's it. That is it. That is everything right there. And then subsequently, he would like give me bottles of wine. You and I had spoken previously about Kerin Cellars.
Yeah.
That was also another winery that kind of like light bulbed me. Like I was like, all these older Semillons.
Although that last one, they kept the wine for 20 fucking years. That shit was a miss.
Sometimes they get long in the tooth, man.
Yeah, but oh my God, people named Kerin is just it's just like, it's like, and if you know, you know.
When you get one that's right,
oh my God, it's so good.
It'll blow you away.
Blow your mind. And but anyway.
Blow you away. So he would give me bottles of things like that. One day he handed me a bottle of 1992 Dominus. He goes, I want you to hold on to this for a while. This is a really special bottle of wine.
He just gave you a bottle of 92 Dominus?
Gave me a bottle of 92 Dominus, right? I popped that shit open in a month. I was like, I got to find out what the fuck's going on with this. So I was like, oh my God. Yes. I can't believe it. So, it was amazing.
You got any more of those Rube?
Yeah, no. Sorry, cuz they're all gone. But yeah, he was just absolutely pivotal. And unfortunately, he passed away this last year. He was living out in California, and I was actually in September out in California for my brother's, like a kind of a birthday weekend, guys weekend, playing Monterey Peninsula.
Right.
And I was hoping to meet up with Ruben while I was out there. And of course, shortly thereafter, he passed away. And I'm just like, wow, I missed my opportunity. So it was one of my deep, deep regrets that I didn't get that. I didn't get a chance to tell him exactly how important a figure he was in my world. One really cool thing, though, getting back to all the way back to finding things in the cellar like this Z-Coat. Ruben at one point helped me make a wine for 56 Degree Wine, a private label wine. He helped me make a Chardonnay and a Pinot Noir, and I found a case of the Pinot Noir.
Oh shit!
It's a 2010 Santa Rita Hills Pinot. It's delicious. I should have brought one tonight. Next time we get together, I'll bring one.
We'll come to the house. Yeah,
it's just drop
in the pocket.
Gorgeous.
It's probably in his pocket right now.
And you know, it's not even when it came out. It was very good. I thought it was good, but I didn't think it was as good as it actually turned out. And subsequently, I gave bottles to my staff, and I was like, "Take this home. Tell me what you think." They were like, "Oh, how good is this wine from Santa Rita Hills, 2010?" Yeah. From like literally, we went to like a garage somewhere, and the guy's like, "He's got a tank with some juice in it," and I've tasted it. I'm like, "This shit's good."
Right. People don't get like how many people like that's. There's people who just sell off wine. Like there's a whole negotiation thing in California, you know.
Absolutely.
Ruben, he was African American, right?
Ruben was from Haiti.
Yeah.
Ruben was an unbelievable individual. He was very, very smart. He spoke 5 languages fluently. He was just a bon vivant in every sense of the word. You know, he had his struggles like everybody does in life. But Ruben was salt of the earth. He always, in one of my other great regrets is like Ruben was one of those people who always had these like kind of crazy schemes. And he'd be like, Joe, he'd like, I'm flying out to the East Coast. He's like, let's get together. I'm like, okay, cool. He comes with a few bottles of wine. And he's like, so I'm going to, I want to market this wine at this, and we got to do this and this and this. And I'm just like, Ruben, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, what I work at a wine store. At the time, I didn't own it.
Yeah.
I work at a wine store. So, like, I mean, you want me to buy some, or how does this work? And we could never, like, get it together. Aside from the wine we made, the Chard and Pinot, we never got it together. And I felt like I should have given more oxygen to his ideas. That's one of the things that I regret. I was like, you know what? Maybe I should see this through a little bit further. You know, not just kind of like shut it down so quick. I definitely regret that. It's also one of the things my wife tells me to do. Your first reaction is like, you can't do that. I'm like, no. I got to keep my mind open to the possibilities. That's how you get
your homework is to go watch Yes Man with Jim Carrey.
Okay.
Have you ever seen it?
No.
Oh, my God. It's one of my stupid, funny movies. Have you seen it? Yeah, you got to see it. It'll crack you up. Because he said yes to everything. Oh my God.
That's not me, but
so you know, Ruben was obviously a major force in life, and so you graduate from WSET. You met the owner of the owner of 56 Degree thereafter. Had you ever worked? Was that like your first job in wine?
That was my first job in wine. I actually, before I got in the wine business, I had met Gary V, of all people. And at the time, Gary was just a young kid, you know, running his dad's store, really fast talker. You know, he wasn't even doing like some of the crazy wine library TV videos or anything yet, but he was just somebody who I'd met. I actually had gone there and bought wine myself with my own money. I'm out to dinner with Gary and this other guy, and he's just like, I guess impressed enough-ish with me to offer me a job. And I don't know why, but in the back of my head, I go, I don't think this is the right fit. There's nothing wrong with Gary. He's actually a great guy, and I'm so impressed with everything that he's become. Like blown away. But I am the kind of person who wants to champion the little guy. You know, and I think walking into a situation like that where I was working with a big store that was just like massive, hulking, you know, behemoth of retail in New Jersey, I think I would have been more like little fish, big pond.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it would have resonated with me. But when I got to 56 Degree Wine and I just walked in and I became the wine director, I remember distinctly after, I always tried to keep the worlds of music and wine separate.
That's impossible.
Well, it's impossible from a personal standpoint.
Right.
But when I'm walking into a new profession, new job, the last thing I wanted somebody to do was like Google Joe Bembry hyperactive and watch me stage dive.
I was like, yeah.
You know, like I'm trying to be buttoned up. I'm trying to be, you know, this is my career now. You know, it's for real. And so
if I'm gonna be impotent, I'm gonna look impotent.
Exactly. I mean, MJ, I wore a collared shirt for you today.
I wore a T-shirt because I thought I thought it was gonna be a T-shirt competition.
This is my wife's fault. So she's like, "Are you gonna look hot today?" That's what she said to me. "You gonna look hot today?" And I'm like, "What should I wear?" Because she knows me. I just wear T-shirts and hoodies. Like that's
I know.
Even in the store. When I got in the wine business, I'm like, I don't ever want a job where I got to wear a suit. I wear suits to weddings and funerals, and that's it. Like nothing else. So she said, "You're gonna look good today." I said, "Well, you know." She's like, "How about this shirt?" I said, "Okay." I put it on. But you know, I would have rolled one of
It's
Andre
fine.
Max. Like
it's all good.
You
It's
know?
I mean,
I pop champagne.
exactly. I mean, I wore a collared shirt yesterday, and I know my producer's like, "Oh, you know, this guest is coming in. You can't wear a T-shirt." So I was like, let me get back to MJ today. You know what I'm saying? Oh man.
Well, this is still me.
No, it's still you.
But
No,
it's,
it's,
you know,
yeah, it looks great, man.
Thank you.
Pinstripes. He's got his Yankee hat on and a pinstripe shirt. He's Yankee for life.
You know it.
That's so funny.
I don't even know what we're talking about a minute ago.
We were talking about.
Do you guys edit this shit or what?
No, man.
No. Oh,
No,
boy.
we were talking about how you. It was more your vibe to do 50 degrees.
Yes,
Like you're not like you like to champion the underdog.
Yeah, I do like to champion the underdog. Oh, it was music. I was starting. To
Yeah.
talk about.
So yeah, because
it was right after my final interview, and the gentleman said, "Oh, you're hired." I said, "Oh, great." He goes, "You know what? There's a sales rep coming in a few minutes. Why don't you taste with me?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm on. This is like my test, right?" So I get in there and I'm just like, I smell hints of citrus and you know, I'm just fucking coming up with whatever I could come with to make it sound important, but that I knew what I'm talking about, and you know, I'm asking all the right questions, and taking this very seriously. And my boss is looking there. He's like, "Okay, this guy knows. He knows what's up." And then all of a sudden, the sales rep goes, "Do you play in a band Hyperactive?" I'm like, "Damn, I haven't even got the job yet, and I'm getting blown up." And I mean, okay, I'm glad that, you know, I got recognized in a way,
Yeah, he's like,
because
yeah.
it means I was
He's
doing
like-
something
somebody was like,
right. But at the same time,
bit of a
I'm just
rock
like,
star.
at the same time, I really want to, you know, I want to carve my way in this wine business and do it in a serious way. So, you know, I didn't want anything that I thought might, and of course it didn't.
Right.
I thought might slow that down or make people not take me seriously or take my opinion seriously. So, yeah, we got through that day. It was fun.
I gotta say, this wine is showing incredibly well.
It's smoking. So Sylvan is located in Pouligny-Montrachet.
Okay.
And he's got vines, various Premier Cru. He doesn't make any Grand Cru, but he has various Premier Cru of Foletière and Perrière, two great sites within the village of Pouligny. This comes from his vines that are along the flat part of the vineyards. And in particular, there's one section called Houlière that makes really, really beautiful Chardonnay. Domaine Leflèvre farms some spots there. And I think his Bourgogne Blanc is probably the one wine we've sold the most in the last 15 years out of anything. I mean, we go through a lot of it every vintage because it's always great. And so I was not really shocked at how good this wine was when I found that case.
Right.
because I've been to Sylvan's cellar and he's pulled out bottles. You know, he's always playing guessing games. So we go there and he'll just pour, you know, oh, what do you think this is? Oh, what do you think this is? And, you know, I'll be like, oh, this must be like, you know, Pouligny Foletier Premier Cru from a great vintage. And he's like, Bourgogne Blanc 2009. Bam! So, you know, it's, I mean, I'm not a big blind taster. Like, I find it sometimes it's like a parlor trick, you know, but when you do put the blinders on, it does make you focus on what is actually there. And sometimes when you don't know what the actual wine is, that allows you to open up your mind to the possibilities, the entire range of what it could be. Not just be like, you know, oh, well, this is 2010 Volnay. It's supposed to be this, 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 and this.
Right.
No, just try this wine and tell me what you think it actually feels like to you.
Yeah, I mean, I said this yesterday. Like, people, first of all, people think blind tasting is this new thing because it was in the Saw movies.
Yeah.
Judgment of Paris, motherfuckers. They've been doing it, and they were doing it before then. But like, literally, like, this is not, you know, it's not a new thing. I hear you. It's if I think if someone just says, "What do you think of this wine?" That's one thing. But then, like, there's this thing now where people are trying to trump each other, and it's because, you know, like, so that's the parlor trick side of it. Like, it's not educational as much as like, oh no, it's Massachusetts cranberries, not New Jersey cranberry. You know what I'm saying?
I was actually thinking about bringing a younger vintage of this too, so we could side by side them. But I just thought this red would be a little more interesting.
Yeah, no, it's totally cool. And 56 sponsored a few episodes, and we specifically mentioned this wine. I love this wine, this Bourgogne.
Yeah,
I drink it young. I love it.
Sylvan is
incredible,
a boss.
Incredible expression of Chardonnay. It's like when you have a wine like this, you're like, fuck, why is white Burgundy so different from most California Chardonnay?
Right.
You know,
it's terroir.
Yeah. I mean, but we had that Cerritos. There's people who make. There's people. I mean,
there are people who are making some great California Chardonnay now, and you know what? It's.
But like on release, like even like the Bourgogne now is like $25 a bottle on release. Like, you can't beat
I looked it up when we first got this vintage of this wine in. It was like $22.
Yeah.
Now they're like $29.
Yeah.
Whatever. But like, buy the case under $20. You could have cellared this.
Right.
And boom.
Right.
You like pull it out next to somebody else's Pouligny Montrachet.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead, do it.
Yeah, for sure. Now that'd be a good one. Like, you blind the Pouligny versus that, right? That to be because that's where it comes up, like you said. Because people will be like, "Oh, the Pouligny Montrachet."
Well, yes and no. I mean, listen, I'll be the first to admit, like, a good reputable producer, or even Sylvan's wine, his Pouligny Montrachet is more layered. It's more textured. It's more complex. There's a reason why that wine costs more money and why it's more sought after. But I mean, you know, it's hard to argue with how delicious this wine is with a decade of bottle age on it.
Perfect color.
As soon as I poured it, I was like, we're good. The other thing is it's a fake cork. It's not a. It wasn't
it was synthetic, because I was wondering.
Synthetic cork.
Because a lot of the Burgundies from this time period had a lot of pre-mock stuff going on. Yeah, like the corks were shitty. Mm-hmm. And you'd pull a wine like this, and it'd be like look like 50-year-old Sauternes and shit.
Exactly. We don't want that. No bueno.
So I don't think I ever asked you, what type of music did Hyperactive play? It sounds like ska punkish.
Yeah. So I was.
I didn't even ask you that.
I was obsessed. I mean, freaking obsessed with Fishbone. So I modeled everything that
Angelo.
I did over on Angelo Moore.
Yeah.
I mean, Angelo Moore to me was like everything in terms of a frontman. I mean, he could sing, he danced, he was funky, he was hardcore. He would throw himself off the second story of a club, you know, and into the crowd. Like, he was excitement. I mean, it was just impossible to not watch him. And to hear him sing and perform and play saxophone beautifully, I mean, I didn't do that, but like, you know, he was just the frontman of frontmen to me. And so, and he was black.
Mm-hmm.
So So I, sadly, at one point, I've been bald since I'm 25, but sadly, at one point, MJ, I had like 3 little. Like yours.
Yeah, you had a little.
Three, shaved around
Shaved
here.
around here, but
and
yeah,
3 little pathetic fucking French fries sticking down my head. And I painted them green. I dyed them green, and I was just like, I'm gonna be like Angelo, you know? I was just like, fucking, stop it, you look ridiculous. I had to shave it off. They were like hanging on literally by like 2 hairs.
Like fucking antenna, like his little bug and shit.
I was picking up radio signals on that shit. So, you know, I thought Fishbone was the greatest thing in the world, and I highly recommend actually seeing their movie. There's a documentary about Fishbone. It's called Everyday Sunshine. If you ever saw Fishbone, or even if you'd never even heard the band, it's a fascinating look at these young guys who came up from South Central Los Angeles, just dying to play rock music.
Yeah.
Also dying to be accepted by the black community at the same time.
Right.
So it's a tragic tale in the end, because Fishbone was on the precipice of being Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Gwen Stefani from No Doubt, Perry Farrell from Jane's Addiction. They all looked up to these guys.
Right. Kiedis, I saw that documentary. You guys should check it out because you know, I'm never the guy like racism, whatever, blah. I don't go, but like literally, they like Red Hot Chili Peppers was like, they idolized Fishbone. Fishbone was supposed to be that band to come out of that genre, and you know, it ended up being Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Right.
You know?
Everybody else took off, and they kind of stayed there, and then all of a sudden things started to splinter, and there was lots of. I mean, you have to watch the movie. I can't go through.
Yeah, we're not gonna. But yeah, check it out. It's if you like music
amazing.
at all, or just like if you like history, and you want to understand, you know, because I was blown away. I was like, because I liked Fishbone. I saw Fishbone a few times, but I didn't think of them in context of like being contemporaries of No Doubt, and you know, I just was into them. You know what I mean?
I think of them more as contemporaries of the Chili Peppers and Jane's Addiction, because they all were right around the same time. No Doubt was a little bit later, but they loved them. Right. Like Gwen Stefani thought Angelo was like,
oh, he was the
coolest
motherfucker, man.
Yeah. So it was.
Was Dallas Austin in?
He produced one of their later albums when they had it got really bad. Right. In the end. Yeah, that's the sad part of the tale. Like, it didn't end up so well, but you know what? Listen, some people think that making wine probably is the same way. That at some point, the Chili Peppers had Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
Right.
What have you done since? Like, you have a pinnacle at a younger part of your career, and then everything else is kind of like looked at that compared to that, and then finally, you know, why are you still making music? Like, aren't you entitled to continue to make music?
Yeah.
Like, why do you have to stop because you're 45?
Right.
Or just because you had 3 albums that sold 10% of what the big hit did?
Right.
You know? It's still valid to continue to do these things. You know, whether somebody's feeling it or not, that's up for the market and people's opinion to decide. But to kind of like shit on somebody for giving it the try, you know, it's art.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it. It's just like wine. Wine is art. I mean, we'll get into that when we talk a little bit more about 56 and what we do. But like, you know, for me, wine is art. It's not something to hang a score on and be like, this is 95, this is 89. I mean, you don't do that to the fucking Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
Is Whistler's mother 93 and the Mona Lisa's a 96? I mean, no, you'd get
Mona
laughed
Lisa,
at.
objectively, if we were going to, she's about a 6 on a scale of 1 to 10.
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying.
I mean, because she's just like got nothing. It's that weird kind of fucking Addams Family shit they probably modeled after. I mean, at least like the other women, they're Rubenesque, and he's like, oh, at least she's naked. Okay, she's a 7.5, you know. But like, she's a 6.
Well, just like women, dude. I'm not going to sit here and say she's a 6, a 7, an 8, a 10. So I won't take that road.
I'm talking about paintings. I didn't say any person.
Okay, but my point is, oh, MJ, you're gonna get in fucking trouble. So
that's the point.
The point is that, you know, judging wine on its merits doesn't have to be an athletic competition.
All right, so let's take a pause right there, because we'll get into 56 degree wine, and this is a good time to pause because I know you have really, really poignant opinions on that. So we'll be right back, everybody, with Joe Bembry. Okay, we're back. I'm getting my foot out my mouth. Not really. My producer's like, yeah. She's whatever. So yeah, let's talk about 56 degree wine. So you're there. How long was your first stint there?
So I started in 2004 at the inception of the store. I was actually working in another shop in Hunterton for a few months before, same owner. And then, I migrated to the new shop on its opening. 2004 to 2012, I worked there. So things at the time were going great. We were progressing, doing increasing sales every year. The client base in Bernardsville really seemed to be very receptive to the kind of things we were doing. It was actually very odd in the beginning because we had this store on a side street. It was all brick floors and wine racks, and we had like a little table and chairs, like a coffee table, and there's like a coffee table book on the thing, and these kind of like leather chairs, and people walked in, it's like, is this a coffee shop? Is it a wine shop? But the problem with it was it gave everybody the impression that it was precious and fancy in there. Like, they're like, oh, don't touch the bottles. Oh, you go for 56 degree wine when you want a expensive, fancy bottle, but not when you just want to pick up a bottle of $12 Grenache or something like that. So we had to kind of push back against that. And we were also doing things different. Like, we didn't use scores to sell the wines. Right. So we tried, we purposely made sure that we'd never put it on the shelves. And quite honestly, I just stopped reading it. I stopped reading the wine press on wines because I didn't want to know. To me, it was almost a detriment if a wine got a really good score. Because it also meant like everybody wanted it. Everybody was going to come chasing after it. I was way more interested in things like Zicote Bourgogne Blanc. I was way more interested in things that now have become unicorn wines. Right. I love to tell this story, and I apologize to some of you that I know who will hear this, who's heard this 500 times. But like, when we first started, a sales rep from Paul Anner Selections came in and tasted us on the wines of Clos Rougeard, which is about as famous of Loire Cab Franc as it gets now. Right. Back then, not quite as known. So much so that we actually got a chance to try all the wines across the range and buy them. Right. So I had floor stacked Clos Rougeard in the store. 5 cases, cut the top of the box off, come and pick up as many as you'd like. Now I might get 5 bottles of Clos Rougeard. Right. That's 15 plus years later. But that's how the wine world changes and shifts, and the pendulum is always going back and forth. But I was way more interested in wine made by real people who were really in tuned to their vines and their property, and were just making authentic examples of wine. I never felt comfortable with large, massive production wines in terms of drinking them on my own. I mean, listen, I'm never going to turn down a bottle of Chateau Margaux. You want to bring one? I'm down. I mean, I know they make 30, 40,000 cases a year, but it's great. It's great for a reason.
Isn't that? But that's a trip, though. People don't get, like, Bordeaux is, to me, very fascinating because if someone made that much here, you couldn't sell it for that price.
Right. But it's a global market for them. Right. So, China's taken it. I mean, everybody wants a first growth. Any restaurant wants a first growth on their list if you have the clientele to afford it. Right. So just think of how many people are trying to get it, not to mention collectors and blah, blah, blah. So they don't have a problem selling their wines.
No, but let's think about this. So to your point about scores, I mean, the whole fucking first growth thing is made up and shit, man. Like, I mean, I love those wines, okay? But like literally we had John Bonet was on, and like it was the rich people like, hey, we're gonna make our wines distinct from the other smaller producers.
Yeah, I agree. However, I do think there's something to those first growths. I mean, not that
I'm not. Listen, I'm a Cheval Blanc guy. I'm like listen,
which isn't a first growth, but it might as well be.
It might as well be. That's kind of like my point, right? Like fucking, and then the other Lafite petition. So no, there is those wines are amazing. Bordeaux, I love you. Those wines are amazing. I'm just saying, like you know, people don't treat your wines. It's global market like they treat Caymus Special Select. You know.
Well, it's also that's from here. Those wines from there.
You hear his tone, I was like, "That's from here."
No, you know what I'm saying?
I'm not playing with you, but you did a down tone. Right? You totally did. It's like, MJ, that's from here.
Listen. Oh, damn, you gave me the Urkel tone on that one. That's from here. So, man, it's from where we are from. And so maybe there's a little bit more allure because it's French, and it's also thousands of years of.
Yeah, I mean,
there's lots of history, and
I mean, if anything, I'm throwing shade because, like you said, like somebody's got to bring that shit. I'm not. That's nothing I'm buying.
No.
But I'm like, yes, please.
No, listen.
I'm right by the guy. More of your Latour.
I'm always willing and ready, which takes me to Burgundy, which is like the complete opposite. So. I've been to Bordeaux only once. I've been to Burgundy 9 zillion times. But in Burgundy, let me step back. In Bordeaux, you go to a chateau that is grand and large, and they have it's set up more like almost like a Napa Valley tasting room, but just way fancier. And you'll try some recent examples, and there's like lovely music playing in the background, and everything's like gold, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's a chateau.
I'm going to Burgundy in 2 days, and I'm going to be down in somebody's fur-covered basement of their house. This is where they live. So it's a much more intimate, it's an intimate experience.
Right, they're called domains, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's a much more intimate experience, but it's also more intimate from them, meaning like I'm inviting you into my home.
Right.
They're a little bit more guarded people because of that, because I'm in their house.
Right.
I'm down in the basement. I'm tasting the wines. They will make you work a little bit more for it, meaning you have to show some interest. You have to show them that you know something. You have to show them that you have some passion for what they do. And once you do that, and you have to be authentic and honest about it and real. I don't sit there and just be like, oh, this is the greatest shit I ever tried. No. But when you're authentic and passionate about it, then a bottle of... let's crack the 1998.
I like this Joe guy. We had this over here just in case. We didn't know.
You know that.
But we like you now. There you go. It's a special bottle.
Well, there is a little bit something to that, but it's just a much more intimate experience, and it's to me it's powerful, and to me it's part of what makes Burgundy so great is that it is made in small quantities, and not everybody's going to have a chance to try this. And it's part of the reason why the prices escalate and why it's just like out of control in some circles. And before we had the tariffs, I mean, oh my God, like the price of Burgundy was starting to get like crazy, absolutely insane. But it brings us to this red wine that I have here that I brought. I'm going to pour a little bit.
Yeah, I'm about to.
It's
See, that's actually smart. That's what I should do because we're going out afterwards, but I'm not that smart. Joe's smarter than I am.
Taking the train, bro. You do you. So this is.
I took the train. But I'm flying to Florida tomorrow.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
All right.
But I took the 2:15 flight, so I give myself some time to recoup.
So this red wine is obviously 100% Pinot Noir Burgundy from a great producer, Joseph Wallot. This is Volnay Premier Cru Les Champagne, 2010 vintage. So this is a wine that's just been in my cellar and has been resting peacefully. Smells good.
Yep, it's got that Pinot funk.
Yeah, it's going to take a minute to open up, but it's going to get there.
Yeah.
I have a really deep affection for this winery and this particular winemaker. His name is Jean-Pierre Charlot. He's, at this point, kind of retired from the game, but he's an icon. He teaches classes in Beaune on viticulture and winemaking. So he's kind of like the guy to go to. His wines, as you can see, are never like dark and densely packed. This is Pinot in the most classic of senses, meaning like you can kind of see through it a little bit. It's not doesn't look like Bordeaux. And so he makes like very ethereal wines that age tremendously well. I first met him at the shop. He came to visit back in the mid 2000s, I guess. And we just kind of connected. He's this big, jolly, rotund guy, speaks no English at all. So when you can make it a connection with somebody when I'm not speaking French and he's not speaking English, you know, it's in the mind and in the eyes.
It's in the heart.
And in the heart. And he knew that I was like down for the cause. You know, I'm ready, okay? And so fast forward to a couple years later, I'm sitting in a restaurant in Beaune with other people on a wine trip. And all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I look and I think that's Jean-Pierre Charlot. And he's looking at me like, why do I know this light-skinned brother?
He's like, who's that fly, pretty, light-skinned brother over there in the corner?
I think that's exactly what he said, MJ.
In French. Whatever the French include.
And so...
Qu'est-ce que c'est, sûr? Whatever.
So he's standing there looking at me. I'm looking at him. And finally I got up and I'm like, Jean-Pierre. He's like, oh, yeah, is he American? Yeah. And so, you know, we had like a little bit of a broken English conversation. And then one of the people who was translating on the trip came over and kind of helped me out. And then we sat down, and about 15 minutes later, a bottle shows up on our table. 1995 Volnay Champagne from Joseph Foyot. They happened to have it on the list at the restaurant. He just sent over a bottle. He's like, try my wine. It's some age on it. And I was just like, it was drop dead gorgeous. I mean, absolutely stunning red wine. Right in the zone, like just drinking beautifully. Subsequently, I made other trips to the domain and visited him a couple years ago, and he's had some health issues. And I'll never forget, Kerin and I went to visit him, had a fantastic tasting of all the current vintages, and then he said, do you have time for lunch? And I was like, love to go to lunch. He has somebody come with him, a gentleman who worked for him, so he could translate, so we could talk. He goes down in the basement, and I watch where he's walking. He's got all these bottles laying on the floor of the basement. They don't have racks. They just lay them on the ground, on the stones, and they're covered with black mold.
Right.
And he goes and he picks one up and he starts to wipe it off a little bit, and he carries it out to the restaurant. Pops it open. He's like, what do you think this is? And I'm like, I mean, it's obviously like not a young vintage, but it's just so vibrant and fresh and so like vital Pinot Noir. Absolutely stunningly vital Pinot. And I'm thinking in my head of all the like great vintages that have happened, and I'm like, 1985 Volnay Champagne, because it's my favorite site. And he goes, back. And I'm like, I don't even know the vintages back beyond there. Like, so he finally tells me it's 1969 Volnay Champagne. There were 4 bottles sitting in that spot. He burned one of them for me and my wife at lunch. That's respect.
That's love.
That's respect. I mean, that wine was actually made by his father-in-law.
Wow.
He didn't make it.
Wow.
So I mean, you know, like it's those kind of relationships, it's those kind of things. And now his nephew has taken over for him because, like I said, his health is not great, and his nephew is like salt of the earth, nicest guy. I'm going to see him in less than a week. But I wanted to share this one with you because I think it's a special bottle from a special producer, and it's what I like in Pinot.
That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that. I believe when we were looking at you said his wines are never dark or densely packed. I know this, so I point at Q-Tip and he says,
"Black is black."
I was like, I want to say that, but it's such a great story. I was like, you didn't even realize that was in your language. Like, I was like, he said dark and densely packed. Mirror, mirror on the wall, shovel chestnuts and De La Soul, y'all. For those of y'all who don't know, my producer knows. She's like, black is black. That's a clip for sure. That's a fucking clip. Amazing. And what the story you just shared is what I love about wine. It's the connections we can make with people.
Absolutely.
Right. And like you said, you parlez-vous un peu français at best. He speaks no English, but the eyes are the window of the soul. You guys connected, and to have someone like you said, like like there's 4 bottles that left. That's the domain. That's their house wine. It's not their house wine like a cheap wine. Like that's
No, that's their legacy.
right. That's their legacy. Right.
That's
Exactly.
their
Yeah. Now we have 3, and one of them
Yeah.
we'll share with you and your wife. That's
Yeah.
amazing. It's amazing. Now you've been to like over 30 different wine regions. Regions. Think about regions, bro.
Probably.
Yeah.
I've made like 30 trips to Europe.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay.
I've had the good fortune of making many trips to Burgundy. I've been to the Loire. I've been to the Rhone a few times. I've been to Bordeaux once. I've never made it to Alsace. Various trips in Italy. Lots of trips to Spain because of my wife too. Yeah, I love to travel. It's one of the parts of the business that to me is most important. Not only for the ability to source wine, because for me, the reason why I go to Burgundy every year is because these things are made in such small quantities, and these days even smaller and smaller, because we've just had a number of vintages that have been problematic in terms of hail or frost or whatever the malady might be. Being able to go there, taste through the lineup, and be like, in 2019 vintage, I liked Gevrey Chambertin La Justice, I liked the Chambol Derrière du Fort, and I want 6 cases of the Premier Cru Crépillot. So, like for me to be able to make those decisions, tasting the wines in the place with the winemaker, so if I have any questions, and to also be able to paint the picture. So for me, I'm dealing with a lot of wineries and producers that aren't on the tip of the tongue of the ballers, So I get a little piece of Roumier, and it goes to a few people, and that's that. But I sell Burgundy like by cases, in terms of like wines that we can actually acquire and move. So for me to be able to go over there and make those selections, and also be able to paint the picture for the clients, our clients, of what makes Sylvain Zicot so special. What makes Jean-Pierre Charlot of Voyot so special? That's everything. I mean, being able to tell a real story, that's the trick. And it's not a trick, but that's the game. That's the goal, is to be able to really show the passion that these producers have with these wines that they produce, and give it full display, full attention, the wide array of all that's possible in wine. That's really it. That's what I do. When I got getting back to college and being able to write, that's what I learned. How to convey the story in a way that makes people want to buy it. It resonates with them. And so now Sylvain Zicot, when it comes in, people are just like, oh, I'll take a case, because now I've built that brand with our clients, and they know that Zicot is quality. It becomes synonymous with quality. Not unlike other things that other people sell too, but 15 years ago, nobody knew this. That's it. Yeah. That's everything.
Yeah. So you said your wife is in the wine business also.
Yes, she is.
How did you two meet?
Oh, I met my wife at JFK. I'm not kidding. Serious. We met, she was working for Tempranillo, Jorge Ordonez's portfolio, and I was a wine buyer, young wine buyer at that time, just starting out.
He made himself young. He's a young wine buyer just starting
out. Young in terms of my experience of going on trips, because I'd never been to Europe before in my life.
Yeah.
It was my first trip to Europe. It was 2005. So I...
beat me by 5 years.
I went to the airport to take this flight, and a bunch of people from the trip were all congregating at a little restaurant by the terminal. And so I first laid eyes on her. Not at the time, I was still married. Nothing happened on the trip. It was not like sparks flying, aside from the fact that I was impressed with her. I was very impressed with her command of the Spanish language. I was impressed by how she talked and was able to convey things to her clients who she was there kind of entertaining, so to speak. And left the trip, nothing. A few years later, see her at a tasting. Oh, hey, how you doing? Good to see you, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't until, I guess, 2011 where a fateful Facebook post was made by my wife. We had become Facebook friends, and she wrote a post about, oh, I'm going to see Jane's Addiction, and I'm not sure if I want to go, but I've got this extra ticket, and I just wrote back, cash in now, honey. It was good, MJ.
I know.
And she's
that's a lyric from a song, by the way, people. He wasn't
exactly.
He's not flexing like he's Big Daddy pimping or something.
Not in that way.
Not necessarily. I know.
I was.
I mean, it was a good flex, but you could always fall back on.
Exactly. So she wrote me back. She's like, "What do you mean? You think the show's gonna suck? Like cashing my tickets?" Like, I'm like, "No, girl, you better brush up on your lyrics to the Mountain Song." Cash in now, honey. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So she she wrote me back. She's like, well, I have an extra ticket. Yeah. And so I met up with her, and my wife is smart. She brought a wingman to the first meeting, kind of just make sure like everything was kosher, you know. And it was actually a deep friend of ours. His name is Valdemar. He was there, and he was. I'm not blowing up anything. Valdemar's very gay, so he was just like, "Oh, he's cute." and so she was like, "Okay, the green light."
Yeah, that is a thing.
And
sometimes you got to get checked off by the gay husband.
Yes, exactly.
It's just true.
It's true.
I did. Same my way. I did. They had to sign off on me.
Exactly. So we ended up going to the show, and while we were at the show, she took a little video. This was back when the iPhones, it was kind of a newish thing, you know, right. Taking a little video with the iPhone. And so she took like she thought she was taking a picture.
1.5 megapixels.
Yeah. A grainy ass video in the middle of Irving Plaza that she thought she was taking a picture of us, but it was actually a video. And the cool thing about this is before like when you take a picture and that gives you a little bit of motion to it.
Right.
The cool thing about it was she thought it was a picture, but she went like this. And I can't, for those of you on the podcast, I'll let MJ explain what I'm doing.
Oh,
she kind of just like raised her eyebrows, just like, look at me.
She was like, oh, yeah. Joe B.
It was really cute.
He's pretty fly for a light-skinned guy.
Subsequently, I quote unquote missed my train that night.
There you go.
You know the move.
I know that move.
But nothing really happened. It was.
Nah, but you gotta keep the night going, right?
Yeah. And so we ended up dating, and as she says, you know, I wooed her in New Jersey with bottles of Giacosa and Maria Sinsky's cookbook that I was like make dishes out of it to impress her, and lots of Chappelle Show reruns, and you know, I mean, who doesn't love that?
Dude, that's a winner. That's
you got to know how to bring the fire, man.
Yeah, that's a winner. Hey, did you guys have any wine before that? When you went out, what wine did you have on that first date?
So we met up at Bar Hamon.
Okay.
You know, Casamono and Bar Hamon right around the corner. So we were just sipping on some sherry.
Okay.
I don't even remember what we had, but it was just like we had a couple cups of sherry, and you know, then went over to the show. I don't know what we drank later, but
the rest is, as we say, history.
Exactly.
Or her story, depending on who's telling it. Okay, producer. Oh my God. Just sometimes my mind just goes off on these tangents, and like I've had all these things I want to ask you, and now I'm like, oh, I made a stupid joke, and now I don't know what I was thinking about.
Rein it in, MJ. Come on.
I am. I'm bringing it back.
People need the information.
So you go and do wholesale for a few years.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Humbling, quite honestly.
Okay.
You know, I tried really hard to forge my path in the wholesale side. So I was working. Here's the issue. So now I'm dating Kerin.
Mm-hmm.
I moved in with her in the city. So we're living in the East Village. But I'm doing wine sales in New Jersey for Grand Cru selections. I'm doing wine sales in New York for Juan Prieto. And I'm doing wine sales in New Jersey for BNP, which is mainly a Bordeaux portfolio, at the same time.
Yeah.
So it kind of like stretched me in a million different directions. Eventually, I dropped Juan Prieto's wines. This is Juan Prieto, Zico.
Okay.
So not of any reason aside from the fact that I had to focus. But after a 2-year stint, it became pretty obvious to me that I was not cut out for that side of the business. My wife is much more cut out for it. I am not. And by that, I mean, I love seeing the end user's reaction to finding something they love.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll take my recommendation and they'll come back and they'll go, Joe, open that wine on Saturday. It was so good. We had the scallops, and you told me that the Z-Coat Bourgogne Blanc would go perfect with it, and it was just like, boom. And that like warms my heart to no end. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, when I would go see my clients on the wholesale side, and they would do what's in my opinion like ridiculous shit, like drink the whole fucking bottle of the sample and order nothing. Right. Have like motherfuckers from like the top floor, the accountant comes down and tries the wine. Every 10, 15 people try the fucking wine and be like, yeah, call me on Tuesday. And we'll call Tuesday, email, follow up, nothing. I felt like I was banging my head against the wall because I'm of the mind, I make an appointment with somebody, I take it seriously. Hopefully I show up. Shout out to all you people who I've screwed over, fucked up, double scheduled, or just, but I do make it up to them. And we taste the wine, we assess it on its merits, not because of the score. I'm like, don't tell me the score. You don't even have to tell me the price. Matter of fact, you don't have to say a word if you don't want to. If you want to talk, fine. But it's rare that somebody's going to say something that's going to make me buy that wine that the glass won't.
Yeah.
Meaning I'm tasting it, assessing it. I'm like, does this taste like what it's supposed to be? Does this taste like a really good example of what it's supposed to be? Is this wine in a price point that's going to make people buy it? Because this wine's a business.
Yep.
I'm not, I'm
it
not,
is called the wine business.
Exactly. I have to be mindful that it's a business. So I could love a wine that's wholesale for $30, but I'm looking at it for $45. Who's buying it? Is that something that somebody's going to buy at that price point? So I have to make those decisions. But once I do, I pull the trigger. I make them. But I couldn't get past people going like, well, what's the score? I don't know. Well, why do you fucking care? Oh, because they're going to sell it on the points. Mm-hmm. So to me, that's like the laziest shit you could possibly do. It's just like, this got 98. You should come and get it. Like that to me, there's no romance in that.
Right.
There's no work involved in that. Initially, wine merchants in this country and everywhere else would go to the place, taste the wine, and buy their favorites. Mm-hmm. That's what we are. We're a throwback to that era. Mm-hmm. So for me to just be like, well, Wine Advocate said this is great. You know what? Robert Parker might think that's great. Is he going to give your money back if it ain't? I will.
Yeah, he's not.
Because that's what we do. I back it up. No, I'm being serious.
No, like, I know.
I make the claim to every single. I did it when we first started the store, and to this day, I mean, the number of bottles that people have brought back for almost any reason. I mean, corked one thing happens. Right. No biggie. But because they were dissatisfied, I can count on these fingers in 18 years.
Yeah.
Because we take the time to taste it and we vet it for them. Make sure it's a good quality wine. And the price is valid. It's not like outrageously priced for the quality that's in the bottle. Right. That's the key.
Yeah,
that's the key for us. It's hugely important, and it's often underappreciated.
Completely. I retail quality, consultative retail is lost.
Absolutely. And honestly, MJ, you just said the word retail, and it just brought this whole thing to my mind. Because retailers, and maybe I have a complex about it, but I feel like we're on the bottom rung.
Well, I think,
like
there's a stigma placed to it. But like you said, I love what you said. Like, there is nothing better than recommending a wine and somebody come back and say, oh my God, what else you got? There's nothing better than that versus you're a wholesale and it's like, they're angling for your allocated shit. How many cases of this do I have to fucking buy to get that? Blah, 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 blah.
It becomes more of a business. There's no romance in it. You're right.
Right. And like I said, it is the wine business, but that merchant, that wine merchant level is beautiful because it goes, like you said, it's the relationships. You're like, I was just over in Burgundy. I tasted these. They're coming in. Allows you to pre-sell stuff. with confidence. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
Like I was there, and people know Joe knows him. Joe's been there for 18 years. Joe's gone over and tasted these wines. I'm listening to Joe, and then they tell their friends, oh, like you have to be a go-to shop in that area. Like, go see the crew at 56 Degree Wine.
Absolutely, and by extension, I will bring that producer here and have a wine dinner with my clients.
You just had one.
I had one with Maria Sinsky.
Yeah, well, yeah,
who is honestly one of the greatest people on the planet. I mean, she's freaking amazing.
I just wish I lived closer because I would have come. It's been a busy week, but I wanted to come to that. I did
awesome.
She's amazing. Yeah, I want to digress because you love Burgundy. Let's talk about the Sinskys. They have a very great philosophy. Like their current Pinot Noir is 2016. They just released it.
Yeah. So they also do wild things like hold on to the wine until it's actually ready to drink, ready to be consumed. It's probably bad for the balance sheet, but it's great for the end consumer because you're getting a product that has the benefit of taking the hard edges off the wine. So, and when I say take the hard edges off, just soften up the tannin a little bit, make it a little bit more easily digestible for the average palate to consume and enjoy. They've been doing it that way for a long time. I first met Rob, I don't know what year it was, probably 2005 or 6 or something like that. I was selling a lot of his Chardonnay. He made a great Chardonnay, absolutely stunning Chardonnay. We sold boatloads and boatloads of it, and I went back to get the next vintage, and I was told that he's no longer making Chardonnay. And I'm like, what happened to all the vines? He ripped them out and planted Gewürztraminer, Riesling, and Pinot Blanc.
Wow.
And I'm
which from if you're not in the wine business, you're someone who's listening to this, who's somehow learning about wine by this podcast. That's not profitable.
Mm-mm.
And particularly in Napa Valley, where you can get like you could say maybe Cabernet, like you can make more money Cabernet. I mean, like that's not profitable to put Riesling, Gewürztraminer, and Pinot Blanc at all. That is someone who is clearly committed to the craft, and
you're down for the cause.
Exactly.
If you make that move.
You're down for the cause. Yeah.
Whatever vision you have in your head, that's what you're trying to create because you're not doing it for money.
No.
It would be way easier to pump out Chardonnay and keep it going, but to do something focused on like Alsatian varietals. But he makes a stunning wine. That's the thing. That's the crazy part about it is that he rips all the vines out in 2002 or 3, I forget exactly, and he just starts making these great wines. And now it's like it's its own iconic thing, you know? And to me, pushing the boundaries, you know, wine's a moving target all the time, you know, and things are always changing. And I'm sure at some moment we'll start talking about natural wine and I'll get myself in really big fucking trouble.
Yeah, that's where I love my guests. They just get where I'm going. I don't even know, like, I'm like...
I mean, like, you know, I'll stick my foot in my mouth, but I don't care. I take every wine on its face value. And for me, wine is about pleasure. At the end of the day, you know, all the pomp and circumstance around it, you open the bottle, you enjoy it with somebody you care about, have a good time, enhance your meal, make it a night, okay? To go on and just, you know, create something that's inauthentic or doesn't resonate with anybody, or it just is another random ass example of a wine, it's not the way to go. It's not something that's going to yield great results. It's not going to fulfill you as a winemaker, I think. And I'm putting myself in a winemaker's shoes right now.
Well, most winemakers that I know of, and they're same opinion. Like natural wine, for a large proportion of people, is a lazy way to make wine. It's not really making wine. I've had winemakers tell me that. Like, I stomped it with my dirty feet, and I'm not going to do anything at all to it.
Well,
now we had Patrick Capello on here, and you know who was a Somm, and
I know Patrick.
Yeah, you know Patrick.
Great
of course
guy.
You know. Yeah, great
I went
guy.
to Bordeaux with him.
But he even said, like, he said now that he's a winemaker, he's like, there is this natural wine mafia on social media, and he's like I make the best wine I can naturally with minimal intervention. And there's always been people who've done that. This moniker of natural wine, so let's get into it. So you first of all, you need to start blogging again. So my team went and looked at the blog.
Oh my God, it was back in the day, bro.
Yeah,
I actually do have to do that because the marketing company that I work with is like, we're gonna do a post on you starting up the uncorked thing on your website, which has nothing on it. It says uncorked with Joe Bembry. Click on it, it goes to nothing. Right. So I do have to start doing that. Anyway, proceed.
Le Monstre du Vin. What does that mean, man?
It means the freak of wine in French.
Okay.
And so I just looked it up. I was like, the freak of wine. That was going to be my tag handle. And so that's my Instagram too, by the way. And, I really just take it on a case-by-case basis. I think it's so important for wine to just be pleasurable and not be so hung up on the process and the dogma that's associated with it, but more listen, everybody knows that when you have organically tended vines, the vines are going to be healthier, and thus the resulting wine will be healthier for you. There's no problem with that. I have a problem with stuff that tastes like shit. Straight up. Yeah. I go, who the fuck likes this? It smells like a dog's ass, and it tastes about the same. Who likes it? Really? You like this? Right. So, fine, buy it. But it's not going to be on my shelf. Right. And that doesn't mean I don't have natural wines on my shelf. I do.
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, there's people who, like I said, make these minimal intervention wines, old vines, biodynamic, but not certified. But it's pleasurable for people to enjoy.
Exactly. I mean, people come in and say, "Do you have a natural wine section?" I'm like, "No."
Yeah, I know that's the term. Exactly.
Right as soon as you ask that question, I'm like, exactly. It just means that you're more focused on the process than the actual
exactly.
product.
And that's the thing, right? I don't want to put bad shit in my body. I get all that crap, all the dogma, not crap, all the dogma that goes along with the narrative. It's like a religion. It's like dogma. But I remember I had Jordan on Salcedo because she wrote an article a couple years ago, and we got Bobby Stuckey's coming on when he comes to town. We're really excited about that. But she was asking Bobby about natural wine. He says, as a sommelier, your first job is the wine flawed, and a lot of those wines are flawed.
Yes. I mean, I don't want to say a lot because one thing I will say, MJ, it's getting better.
Of course.
The people who are making wines that really stink, they're not selling.
Well, that's the thing, right? It's the market will fool me
regulate. Once.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm not going to come back and buy that again. Right. So that's a huge component.
I mean, I think Pascaline brought something that was really good. I mean, so I'm not saying
I love her. Yeah. And I appreciate people who are pushing the envelope for better vineyard practices and working cleaner in the vines and in the cellar and things that increase the health of the vineyard. But at the end of the day, people are drinking a bottle of wine and they have to like it.
Yeah. Nothing worse than trying to suffer through some shit. Actually, I don't either.
I don't either. Life's too short.
I'm like,
I'll pour that shit right down
exactly.
the drain.
I'm like, no.
Zero fucks.
I'm eating that. Yep. I'm eating that $30.
Yep.
Seriously.
It's not worth it.
It isn't.
It's not worth it.
It isn't, man.
I'm gonna choke it down. Just gotta spend money on it. I've seen people try and drink old ass Barolo that's just so shot.
Oh yeah.
And they're just like, "Isn't this great?" And
it's
fucking
I'm
shit.
like, "Are you kidding me?
Oxidized. What are you talking about?"
Fucked it. It's gone. People fighting to find some note.
No. I'm like, no. One time a guy invited me to his house and said, "What do you think of this Giacosa?" And I was like, "I think it's oxidized." He's like, "Yeah, but it's going to come around, right?" I'm like, "No, it's not a thing."
The tertiary notes are showing their tertiary notes, right? It's just so
oxidized wine doesn't come around.
6 degrees of separation from when this wine was tasty.
Exactly.
So, you come back from the retail, from the wholesale, to your home where you can tell stories, you can connect deeper with people, and then you come back in it was 2014?
Yeah, so this is where it gets a little bit crazy. So I was working wholesale, and I get a phone call from the people who are the money people behind 56 Degree Wine. And they say, listen, Joe, I need to have a conversation with you. I want you to be discreet about it. But we found out that there's some really awful shit going on in the store. Money's being siphoned off. It's just a complete disaster. So we've pumped a lot of money in this, and we're trying to decide what to do. We can either start up some money if you will come back and try and give it a go, or we can just sell it off for pennies on the dollar and just lick our wounds and be done with it. And I think, and I will name my former partners, the Bruckners, wonderful, wonderful people who quite honestly didn't deserve the lot they got from that. But, you know, the money was being stolen. Things were going wrong. I mean, I'm not talking about like little things. I'm talking about like hundreds of thousands of dollars just vaporizing in front of their eyes. When I left the store was thriving. And when I returned, it was a shell of itself. So my job was to get it back going in the right direction. On a personal side, it was really not only disappointing to me, but deflating because, you know, this person who was my mentor, gave me my first job, wasn't the guy I thought he was. And so now I have to kind of pick up the pieces. And we soldiered on, and it was not easy work, but we got there. And finally, my partners were like, hey, listen, we're ready to call it quits. We're in our 70s. You know, I just don't want to think about it anymore. You ready to just take the reins? And I was like, let's do this. You know, so in January 2021, I took the complete reins of the store. We're still open, so haven't fucked it up too bad yet. Stay tuned. Never know.
How did you how did the pandemic affect you guys? Like, because that shit came down before you bought. Like, who buys a store like in the middle of a pandemic?
This crazy motherfucker. That's it. Oh, I mean, it was my store already, you know, so it's just a matter of dollars and cents and working that all out. But the pandemic was wild. I mean, when it first went down, I mean, I was in France in February of 2020, noticing that there weren't just Asian people wearing masks anymore. Like, I was like, oh, everybody's kind of masking up. And they were a little bit ahead of us. We were a little bit behind it. And when I got home, once March hit, I mean, it was crazy. Like, everything gets shut down. People are panic buying cases of wine because they're worried that the governor's going to close off wine stores, which, I mean, in hindsight, would have been like one of the most disastrous things you can do is like, okay, here's what you're going to do. You're going to stay home. You're not going to go anywhere. You're going to school your kids, and you can't buy a fucking glass of wine. Oh, my God, I know. Like, there's no way. There's no way you could do that to people. Not to mention, like, alcoholics who just, quite honestly, you're going to leave them out in the cold. Like, it's a massive...
There would have no riots.
I mean, it would have been riots. You want to... I would have been out there with him, like, rioting. Like, forget my business. I'm just like, I need a glass of wine.
Can you imagine this shit, right? Imagine, like, riots over closing down wine shops. I was just watching some shit about, like, the 92 riots, like, and everybody, like, Snoop's like, yeah, I got a TV. Like, I'm like, yo, go get me some DRC. Motherfuckers be like, taking DRC, fucking Ornelia, Tignello. He's like taking cases of the good shit.
It's funny you mention that because at that same time, my wife and I are home now all the time. And I mean, we just start hammering our cellar, like just every day, like 2 bottles, you know, we're cooking.
Right.
So it's just like,
and that's happened to us too. Like, it's like, it's easy 2 bottles, 2.5 bottles. Cause you're cooking, you're not going no fucking where.
Right. And you're also, because it's a pandemic and you don't really, there's uncertainty. I'm just like, why am I holding all this shit? Like, who knows? Maybe I get COVID in a month and I'm out.
Literally, I did a set. Listen, there was one. It was a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I opened a Cinquenon, fingers crossed, and an Andromeda. It was the ultimate. I opened a Grenache. It was the ultimate GSM.
Yeah.
Because I was like, what the fuck, man? It was like late. It was like March of 2020. I was like, what the hell? Why not?
Now or never.
Never. I was like, I got some bottles hold, but like literally, I totally understand it. It really put things in perspective for people. You know, and we're coming up on opened that bottle night. This might even drop that week with Dottie and John, and that really came back into the forefront during the pandemic because people were like, what the fuck? And who the hell said that? Who was on my podcast? Someone's like, Rob Long. He's like, I never understood people who were like holding a bottle for a special occasion. Like he's like, the bottle's worth $25,000. Like, is this a $25,000 special occasion? No, it's only a $17,500 special occasion, right?
I'm not a fan of putting a dollar figure on a special occasion, but I'm also 100% with him. Like, open up your best bottle on a Thursday.
Yep.
When it's just like you and your wife.
Yep.
And get like a really good steak and cook it simply and just let the magic unfold.
That's
like,
my shit is a cheeseburger. I ain't even say
whatever your favorite
I'm like a baller. When I smash my producer's like, I want to come over. You're coming to my house upstate making smash burgers. No, it is. I like it, and like it's simple. Let the wine be the star.
Yes, and let it motivate your night. As time goes on, I have some really, really dear friends. You know them, Brooke Sobel.
Yep.
My buddy Patrick, who's like my homeboy, my buddy Jared, who's out on the West Coast. We get together and we open up lots of crazy bottles.
I know. I saw some. Y'all did some crazy. Y'all did like a Rhone theme. I was like, fuck, they were cracking all kinds of crazy shit.
I mean, MJ, you and I have done some damage too.
Yeah,
so.
I know.
But like, you know, I keep telling. I'm the one who's pushing this, and maybe it's because I'm a little bit older than all of them. I'm just like, listen, let's not have the wine orgy all the time we get together. Let's just scale it back a little bit.
Right.
Because honestly, these bottles are too special to just be given 15 minutes of attention and move on to the next
thing. That's
thing.
the thing too, right? Yeah, you got to spread that out. Like I like you go to these. I used to go to these tastings sometimes when I was in California, and it's like it's actually too much because you can't even enjoy all those wines because you're banged up and you got all these amazing wines and you're not really appreciating them. You know?
It's true.
I mean, first time we got together, famous last words, one more bottle. His wife said.
That's my wife's famous last words always.
But it was a good one more bottle. Was that
Joey,
fun?
I think we need one more bottle. Whenever she says Joey, too, I know
it's Joey, exactly.
Feeling nice.
Yeah.
Joey, go down and get one more bottle. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. So you come back, the store's in shambles. You purchase it, and now you've recently moved. Like you were just like to stir the pot.
Yeah, 2021 was a wild year. So my wife and I bought a house in Montclair, the proverbial money pit. So we, it's like from the inside phenomenal. But it's the shittiest house on the block on the outside. It's like the house on the block that everybody's like, who lives in there?
We got to get Chip and Goat Joanna over here. That's what you do. You buy the worst house on the best block.
100%. And speaking of that, you know, we actually know some people who work on one of those shows. So we're kind of, it's in the works.
Okay.
Keep that on download. Nobody hears this, right?
No.
Okay. So
I only have 3 listeners.
So, so we bought
I appreciate you 3 guys too, by the way, just so you know.
We bought this house that needs a lot of love, but it's literally a 10 location for us. And so moving is very, very difficult. It's one of the worst experiences. But to move a home and a store in the same year, I'm pretty sure it took a couple months off my life. Like it's super stressful, not to mention like exhausting. And I probably should have gotten more help with it in terms of like everybody or hiring somebody to do it. But I DIY'd it a lot, and it's exhausting. It really is. But the new space is beautiful. We're right on the main street, which we've never been in Burnersville. The store's always been kind of like on a side street, and now it's like dead smack in the middle of the town. I'm looking forward to the future. It's going to be awesome. It really is.
Cool. So we're coming up on the hour. We're going to be talking some more later. Anyway.
The podcast goes on.
Yeah. Podcast continues. Give me like a bottle of wine Well, you talked about that 92 Dominus, but what was a bottle of wine that just blew you know, when you were like, I said, I love this shit, I'm in.
You know, I'm a big Burgundy guy, but I have to say I've had this wine twice on 2 occasions, and I'm also a big person who the most profound wines that I've had are not necessarily like the greatest bottles, but it's time and place.
Yeah.
But this one in particular, it was 1990 Latour, and I've had it twice. And both times it was like on point, like really on fire. And it had just that beautiful like lushness of fruit, starting to pick up all those secondary characteristics, softening of tannin, acid fresh, even though it's a really warm vintage, and just like in the zone. I'm also not a big fan of like old wine. Like
me
I don't find valor in saying I had a 1970 something. Like,
if it's
is it
old,
good?
it's got to be fresh.
Yeah, is it good?
It's got to
like,
be fresh. Yeah.
I don't. That's another reason why I tend to not hold my wines forever. It's like last time I checked, wine is made from grapes, which are fruit, and if there's no fruit left in the wine, there's no allure left in the wine.
I agree. That's when I say that all the time. A grape is a fruit. You need to have some fruit in your wine. I worked with this dude when I first got into business, and he said I always remember, he's like, you know, because we were starting to do all this cult wine shit and auctions at Akron, and he's like, I don't see what all the hullabaloo is. Wine is a pit stop between grape juice and vinegar. and chemically, that's true.
Yeah, 100%.
So, you know, I agree with you 100%. So, but 90 Latour, but when you have that's when you have those wines, you're like, fuck, I get what all this shit is about. Like I get why this is a first group, why people clamor for this
especially
shit.
with Bordeaux.
Yeah.
I've had those epiphanies with Burgundies many more times. Bordeaux for me is a little bit trickier just because I tend to not drink a lot of heavy wines.
Right.
And I like the little lighter and finesse things. But when it's that smoking, it's impossible to deny. And it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I loved it. I mean, I would love to try it again. You know anybody rich enough to have some?
He's like I'm sure somebody out there's got some. Me and
All
Joe,
you
we're pretty cool to drink wine with.
Yeah. I'll bring the Zicote 2012 Bourgogne Blanc. You bring the Latour.
And he does dope playlists for his shit too. So we'll hook it up.
That's true. That's true.
Well, Joe Bembry, thank you so much, my brother, for being here. Tell people how they can find you and how they can be a part of what you're doing.
Well, you can find me at 56degreewine.com. Our Instagram is at 56wine. Personally, you can find me at Le Monstre du Vin. It's LEMONSTREDUVIN on Instagram. And check out my wife's portfolio of Spanish wines too, La Luz Selections.
All right, my man, Big Joe. Until the next time, everybody out there, cheers to the Mavericks, philosophers, deep thinkers, and all you wine drinkers. It's MJ. Peace.